Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown, men's lacrosse enters the MAC tournament as the top seed. But what do the Bobcats have to do to punch a ticket to nationals? Plus, acrobatics and tumbling captain Jenna Adams is in the house. Baseball gets no hit by Iona, and the guys hand out their end of the year awards. It's Bobcat Breakdown, and it's now. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Bobcat Breakdown, the last show of the year, but don't worry, it's going to be a good one. I'm Dylan Fearon, joined by analysts Brian Schwartz and Mike Riley. Boys, how are we?
I'm pumped. I'm ready to get it going.
Oh, man, I'm so excited. The juices are flowing. Woke up this morning with butterflies, ready to take on Schwartz right now.
Well, we're going to start things off with men's lacrosse, guys. Quinnipiac a perfect 6-0 in MAC play, the one seed in this weekend's MAC tournament. Now that high-powered offense faces Canisius in the semifinals. Brian, I'll start with you. This is a team that's looked great, but are there any areas that need tweaking before the most important game of the season?
You know, this is a tough question, Dylan, because they've been so dominant. 6-0 in the MAC. They've been really, really good, but they have to play complete games. I mean, every single game, it seems like the second half is super, super close. It's great that they get out to these big leads, but listen to these scores in the second half. 7-6 Quinnipiac, 5-4 Quinnipiac, 8-8, 1-0 Manhattan, 7-4 Siena. That's 5 out of the 6 MAC games, all really, really close in the second half. So if they didn't get out to those big starts, you might not see a 6-0 record and you might not see that first place.
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting because, like you mentioned before the show, 14 seniors, you would think maybe they have a little bit more composure, but maybe part of it's just a little bit of, oh my God, we're out to a huge lead, being kind of just coast and take it easy now, but they're kind of just cruising and it's causing them some problems. But unfortunately, they've held it together and got it back together to get it 6-0 in the conference. But for me, I'm saying the special teams have to step it up a little bit because even though they're 6-0, they have to get through Canisius, and Canisius has an unreal power play right now. 46.2% when they're up by a guy. Quinnipiac only 37.2%. Not like that's too shabby, but if you're Quinnipiac, you have to stay out of penalty trouble. You have to stay disciplined and conversely force Canisius to take penalties in their own end so that you can limit their scoring chances and make sure that you're not making dumb mistakes and causing yourself goals that could have easily been avoided.
Yeah, and I can't even argue with that. I think it all goes together. And even you could say the goaltending, because Joe Zukowskis has been solid, but he hasn't been great. He's no Jack Brust. So you put it all together, and it's a really good team. It just all has to come together and be a complete team and play a complete game.
Yeah, just some quirks, I think, that they have to work out, just a little bit of kinks, but nothing too glaring here, and I think they'll be okay against Canisius.
Should be the favorite heading into the tournament. But guys, we've talked all season about the big three. That's Jake Tomsic, Foster Cuomo, Mike Fletcher. Even throw Brian Feldman in the mix there. But Mike, if you had to pick the regular season MVP, who would it be and why?
I think all of those are worthy candidates for sure, but my guy has to be Jake Tomsic. He has been unreal all year long, has came on as a freshman, doesn't really care that he's a freshman, has been dominating all year long. 4th MAC Rookie of the Week honor just this week. He has 43 points, 3 points behind your boy, Foster Cuomo, 26 goals, 17 assists. And I want to point out, too, that Foster Cuomo only had 23 points last year, and it's doubled up to 46, and I think that could be a little bit because that Jake Tomsic's in the mix now, feeding him a lot of goals. It
might help, but it also helps the team is just a lot better as a whole.
No, that's true.
I'm going with Foster Cuomo because he's the points leader on this team. He's got 46 points and 31 goals. It doesn't matter. He's still the points leader.
It's 3. Not that big of a difference. He had like one absurd game, and that kind of shot it all up.
Great. It's still better. It's still better. He's the most valuable player on this team. If they didn't have him, if you take Foster Cuomo off this team, where are they? Are they 6-0?
That's impossible to say.
Are they 6-0?
How can you say?
There's no way.
You don't know if someone else steps up. You don't know if Feldman just goes on a tear or Fletcher goes on a tear. It's impossible to say. They'd be the same without him.
There's no way that they're 6-0 without him.
Brian, I could counter that with the fact that they were 1-5 last year in the MAC, and they had Cuomo. They didn't have Tomsic. Now they have Tomsic, and they're 6-0.
Yeah, Cuomo had a down year. He's better this year, obviously.
There's Jake Tomsic's on the team.
Jake Tomsic's not the sole reason that Foster Cuomo is the best player on the team now.
I'm not saying he's the sole. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you did there. But Tomsic's been really good this year. 43 points as a freshman.
He was last year's MAC preseason player of the year. Obviously, he's highly regarded. I know, and it was last year too. But he's got this high caliber. He's this high caliber guy.
No, he
knows how to play. He's the best player on the team.
Yeah, but you don't think
the best team in the MAC.
You don't think having Tomsic around helps him?
Oh, it helps him.
Okay,
but he's still not the best. Foster Cuomo's the best.
Don't forget Mike Fletcher and Brian Feldman. But guys, it shouldn't be a surprise. Our game of the week is Quinnipiac-Canisius in the MAC semis. It's Thursday at noon. Brian, who advances to the title game and why?
You know, I thought about this one a little bit. I did my research. It's Quinnipiac. They're not going to lose to Canisius. I'm sorry, Chris Stacey. You're going to have to make that drive down to Monmouth at 5 a.m. on Saturday. Quinnipiac's not going to lose to Canisius. They already beat them this year, 19-14. Canisius only made it close because of a 7-0 run. These 14 seniors on this team in a win-or-go-home game, they want to win the MAC. They do not want to lose this game and get knocked out in the first round after having an undefeated regular season.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, I'm a little concerned that you had to think about who was going to win this game. Canisius has lost 4 of 5 coming into this tournament, really sliding in hard. Quinnipiac has always been consistent all year long, 6-0 in the MAC, like I mentioned before, undefeated, obviously all great things. But, you know, obviously, like you said before, beat them in the regular season. A little bit less traveling time to Monmouth, too, where the game is being played than Canisius. They're in Buffalo, New York, and Quinnipiac's only a couple hours away in Hampton. It's a little bit more of a relaxed preparation for a Quinnipiac, probably be a little bit fresher. So I think Quinnipiac's going to take this game, too, and they're going to see either Detroit Mercy or Monmouth in the final.
Yeah, that's right. If they do advance, it'll be Detroit Mercy or Monmouth on Monmouth's home field, and that'll be Saturday morning. All right, it's acrobatics and tumbling. Quinnipiac making it all the way to the national championship after defeating Fairmont State and Azusa Pacific. The Bobcats did lose to Baylor in the national championship, but many didn't even expect them to get that far. One person who probably did is Captain Jenna Adams, and she's live in the Piazza with our own Katie O'Keefe to discuss that postseason run. Katie?
Dylan, thank you, and Jenna, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So like Dylan mentioned, you faced Azusa Pacific in the semifinals at the championship playoffs this weekend. But earlier in the season, you lost to them by just 0.3 of a point. So tell me, what were your expectations, emotions, and feelings going into facing them?
I think the whole team just really wanted to come out and show them again how hard we worked from that time that we played them last till now, and how much we really wanted to prove that we were the team to beat. And I think we showed up that day and we proved to them that we really should have won that day back during spring break, and I'm just really proud of how well we did going into that big meet.
That was incredible, but unfortunately you fell to Baylor in the championship. So the team hasn't beaten Baylor in the past 4 years. What would you say as advice or strategy that Quinnipiac needs to hear and know to beat Baylor come next season?
Baylor just has a lot of confidence, which I think we do too, but they come out really strong in the tumbling events and the pyramid and acro too, which we've always been known for our pyramid and our acro. So I think coming off of this year, we really grew as a tumbling team, and our tumbling rounds, we came really close to them. I think if we keep doing what we did this year with the coaching and the girls working all these new skills, we'll really get close to them next year and the years to come.
And now you are a senior, so your time as an athlete is over. But thinking about your time here, what have you seen change in the program since you started as a freshman to now?
I think from freshman year till now, we've really grown just as a whole. Everyone on the team is really so dedicated to the sport and wants to win and wants to do what we have to do to win. We don't just come into practice and hope for the best. We really strategize, and we look to know what skills we want to gain and where we need to pick things up and who we're going against as a whole. And I think over the years, it's just really grown all together, and we've really come a long way since I first joined the team freshman year.
So now, looking into the future, where do you see this program going, like the future meets and the season to come? Where do you see this team going?
They're only going to get better and better. We have a really strong freshman and sophomore class, and the juniors who are going to become seniors, I know they'll be great leaders and follow in the senior class this year's footsteps. And I only see great things for them, and this was just the beginning for them. So I'm really excited to watch and be there with them.
That's awesome. And I understand that next year you will be an assistant coach.
Yes.
So tell me what your expectations and the transition will be like going from playing on the mat to coaching on the sidelines.
Sophomore year, actually, I suffered an injury that put me on the sidelines, and I kind of saw firsthand what it's like to be on the side and like be there to help my team. So I think going into next year, I'll know what to do, and I'll have more of a say so much to like how skills are done, and I'll be able to help as much as I can from this year and just take what I've learned over the last 4 years and really apply it to the girls coming in and the girls that I've been on the team with.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jenna. Dylan, back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Katie. Quinnipiac finishes the year 7-3, 2 of those losses coming against Baylor. All right, it's time for our first break. When we come back, baseball started MAC play 10-1, but are the Bobcats starting to come down to earth? That's next on Bobcat Breakdown.
Coming up on #that, we talk about some fun events around Quinnipiac's campus.
And we talk about some weird news that's been discussed around Twitter.
All that and more, we are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. Everything was going Quinnipiac baseball's way to start MAC play. 10-1 early on, but a shocking series loss this past weekend to one of the MAC's bottom feeders in Iona. And in that second game of that series, the Bobcats were no-hit in a 3-0 loss. Now, Brian, you've been around the sport a long time now. How embarrassing is it to get no-hit, especially to a team pretty far down in the standings?
Dylan, 1, it's embarrassing to get no-hit, period. 2, it's embarrassing to get no-hit by a bad team. 3, it's embarrassing to get no-hit by a converted outfielder and relief pitcher. Mario Ferrioli was making his 3rd start of the season. His 3rd start of the season. That's a converted relief pitcher making the start because there was a doubleheader. You got no-hit by a relief pitcher. You can't tell me that's not embarrassing.
So, 1, not always embarrassing. 2, how is it anything to do with the team if they're bad, how he does in his pitching performance? No reflection on them. Any competent college baseball team can field the ground ball, right? If it gets hit to them, they can field the ground ball, right? So how does their level of play dictate that? When the pitcher's on fire, he had 10 strikeouts.
He's a relief pitcher.
He was good.
He's pitched more than 3 1/3 once, other than this game.
He's pitched 31 innings the entire season and has allowed 3 runs the entire year.
Yeah,
you're gonna tell me he's bad?
I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying in the 5th inning, a relief pitcher is gonna be tired. He's not used to drawing himself out like that.
So what is he never So before this year, he's never pitched more than that in his lifetime.
I don't know.
Is that what you're suggesting?
This year, he's never pitched more than 3
capability to pitch longer.
He hasn't this year.
Okay,
he's not used to it this year.
You don't think he's been throwing whatever? But
give me this. Give me this.
All right.
You're a Red Sox fan, right?
Yeah, I am.
Sean Manaea, earlier in the year, Red Sox hottest team in baseball.
He's good.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
He's an average starting pitcher in baseball. You can't tell me that's not embarrassing.
Brian, Mike, let me try to back you up here. Brian, think about Major League Baseball. You're talking about the pros. A team gets no hit. Everyone's looking at the pitcher having great performance, not really the team getting embarrassed because of their bats. Wouldn't you say?
But it's still. It doesn't mean it's not embarrassing. I want to look
just happens.
Look back at this Quinnipiac.
It just happens.
Look back at this Quinnipiac game again for me. You're a PR guy, right? The team did not speak, other than John Delaney, the head coach. The players did not speak after the game. Why was that?
I don't know. They're probably just a little annoyed.
Annoyed?
They were probably embarrassed.
Embarrassed. I think they were embarrassed.
And, it just happens. Obviously, you're not going to be totally okay with it, but you got to tip your cap to the other guy. My thing is, it's more impressive for Ferrioli than it is bad for Quinnipiac, right? So you're going to tell me, you're a Mets fan, right? Going back to Major League Baseball?
Sure, go back to Chris Heston.
All right, yeah. No, not even Chris Heston. Max Scherzer later on, who's also very good. So I'm not going to say that a bad pitcher beat them. But they got a no-hit twice in 2015. Twice. And they went to the World Series.
Right. That makes it embarrassing.
It happens.
They were one of the best offenses in the league, and they got no hit twice.
It's the mystique of baseball. No hitters just happen.
And it's still embarrassing. I know it happens, but it's still embarrassing.
How is that more embarrassing than, it's just impressive. It's not even just an embarrassing thing. No one's going on ESPN oh, Max Scherzer threw a no-hitter today. The Mets should be embarrassed and ashamed of themselves.
No, well, obviously, because the no-hitter, the pitcher obviously is going to get more credit for it. Yeah, but you're in the locker room of a team that gets no hit by an average pitcher. Okay, not Max Scherzer, by Chris Heston. Wow, we got no hit by an average pitcher. I can't believe it. That's so embarrassing. It's embarrassing. You can't deny that it's not embarrassing.
I'm not saying what.
Look, all I'll say is that when teams get no hit or when no hitters occur, you always think about the pitcher, never think about the team that didn't have a hit. But anyway, Mike, back to you. For this team, Quinnipiac, is this just a hiccup or the Bobcats coming down to earth after a hot start? I mean, what do you make of that Iona series? They were the bottom feeders of the MAC.
Well, it's definitely a reality check for them. I don't know if they're completely back down to earth. Who knows what this team is I think the real test for them is a stretch coming up. They're not playing the greatest of competition, but it's still MAC competition. 9 games in the next few weeks to finish out their regular season. And that's where they're going to be a reality check is. They played Yale today. Yale's obviously a way better team. They've beaten ACC opponents, and they run college baseball. So for me, it's a reality check because slip-ups happen, like I said before with the no-hitter. Sometimes you just lay an egg. But it's how they respond after that that's going to dictate what this team really is.
I would say this embarrassing no-hitter that just happened is like a slap to the face to this team, saying, "Hey,
relax.
I know you're in first place, but let's relax a little bit. You still have to win the MAC. It's a down conference this year. You weren't expected to be at the top. It's a reality check for this team, and they're still very good. They're still going to be at the top of the MAC. Do I think they're going to win the MAC at the end of this year? Maybe not.
They could.
But they could. They absolutely could. But they still have a couple really good players. Their pitching's been really good. Taylor Luciani, Brandon Shalakis, all very good pitchers. Ben Gibson is still having a dominant year.
Absolutely.
They have great players. It's a reality check, but they're still very good.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Who knows if they win the MAC or not, but definitely a reality check, like we both said. And we'll just see how it goes come the next few games.
Agreed. Still first in the MAC. Non-conference play ends tomorrow as Quinnipiac hosts Central Connecticut State before welcoming Niagara to town for a 3-game weekend series. That's the last homestand of the year, by the way. 6 straight road games to close out the regular season for Quinnipiac. Coming up, the guys reveal their annual awards, and I have a feeling I'm going to disagree with both of them. That and more next on Bobcat Breakdown.
Hello, and tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired, and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. QCash is accepted.
now that's a sandwich.
This is Sports Pause.
Are you concerned with the 0-2 start for this team?
Right here, top of the circle, again, rips it past the Jasper's goalie.
What will breaking the record mean for the program himself? I mean, 138 wins.
There's the tough shot. What a nice play by Mikey Dixon.
He's good in transition. Just a really dynamic scorer he can create for himself.
And now, Emma, it's time for the top 5 plays of the week.
Gotta get it lined up.
Thanks for sticking with us. All right, time for the guys to hand out some annual awards. There have been a ton of great players, teams, and coaches this year. Brian, start us off, man. Player of the year, who you got?
Dylan, there was a lot of really, really great players in this Quinnipiac season. I'm going to talk about it in my final roar, how fantastic a season it was for Quinnipiac athletics.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to go with Alona Marr, the senior center of the Quinnipiac women's rugby team, because the Quinnipiac women's rugby team were the national champions, and she's the best player on the team.
Not wrong.
She's one of the top 2-3 players in all of the nation. She is one of the most dominant players. She was the NIRA championship game MVP. So she was the best player in the championship game. She played a big role in their comeback, 15-point deficit in their 29-20 win over Norwich in the championship game. So Alona Marr, I think, is the player of the year.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I can't say that she had a bad year or that she wasn't remarkable for that team. But for me, I'm going with Odine Tufto from the men's ice hockey team. Kid had a phenomenal year. Freshman year, 41 points in 38 games. ECAC third team, ECAC all-rookie, and an ECAC Rookie of the Year finalist. And his line mates, McMaster was solid, Jermaine and Landon Smith, when Landon Smith wasn't hurt, that was a different dynamic there. But his line mates, 33 points for McMaster, Jermaine, 14 points. So he really carried the load there for a team at Quinnipiac that kind of struggled this year. And he was a standout. And I think that the fact that he was a point-per-game player on a team that only won 16 games this year was pretty impressive. And
So wouldn't you say he's the most valuable player, not the player of the year?
I wouldn't say he's the most valuable player at all. In Quinnipiac athletics, no, I wouldn't say he's the most valuable player.
But if we're talking about the best player, we're talking about all the best player, and Marr stacks up against everyone in the entire nation. Tufto didn't get a national award.
That's not wrong. Well, how was he supposed to get that kind of national recognition when Quinnipiac is a down year?
He still could. If he's one of the best.
Joey Votto doesn't get that kind of recognition because he's on the Reds and the Reds
he
are
does.
trash.
He was second in MVP voting last year.
Guys, think about this. Nadia Gill, possibly from women's soccer, or maybe even Brian, someone from the women's basketball team.
Yeah,
I another tournament game. Maybe Aaron McClure, Jen Fay, someone like that.
I could have easily gone Jen Fay.
Casey Herzog too, Aaron McClure.
Sure.
There's a ton of great athletes. So I had a tough time picking one. I felt like Tufto just stood out because he had a great year for a team that really struggled offensively in my
But that's the thing, there's no NCAA tournament, so I don't think you can have the player of the year and all that athletics from a team that didn't
necessarily all on him.
Right, it's not all on him, but he's still a big piece of the team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He still could win a national award. You don't have to be on a good team to win a national award. He never did. Alona Moore was top 2, 3 in the Sorensen.
I think it's a little easier to get that kind of recognition when your team's good, no?
Of course it's easier, but it's still possible. It's not impossible.
It's not impossible, but it helps.
That's a tough one. I think the next one's probably the toughest one in my eyes. Mike Riley, your coach of the year, please.
Becky Carlson. And you know why? Because 3-peat. It's all you need to know.
So the points that I just said. So my player of the year was right.
Yeah, but you're the coach dealing with roster turnover every single year. She graduated 6 seniors. Only one of them returned. It was Taylor Schuessler because he was coming after the grad year. You have to deal with that roster turnover. You deal with an early season loss to Central Washington. You deal with an early season loss to Dartmouth. And you beat them both on the way to the national championship. That's impressive. To gather your team after tough losses like that early in the year, dominate the rest of the season, and then beat them both in the playoffs in a revenge tour. 3-peat.
Now, I almost went with Becky Carlson. I almost went with Trish Fabry. But when I really thought about it, I thought about which coach made the greatest impact on their team this year. And that one I gave to Baker Dunleavy of the men's basketball team because he just totally transformed this program in one season.
Absolutely.
He made Rich Kelly into one of the best players in the MAC. He found Jacob Pergoni in Australia, who wasn't on a team.
The 3-point wonder from down under, man.
Right. He made him one of the best players in the MAC as well. And now he's got 4 of the best recruits in the conference coming in next year. And they won 2 MAC games in the playoffs. They haven't done that in years.
Yeah. And like you said, really tough question for this one because Becky Carlson obviously did a great year. Baker Dunleavy did tremendous things. And he just seems to bring such a positive attitude to the team and to the campus. I mean, you saw him doing the stuff with Ben & Jerry's and just handing out ice cream. Like, he's a genuine good guy. And so is Becky Carlson. Dylan Feard would know because of that interview they did back in the fall. And obviously, Beck Main, great coach, getting the Big East last year. They had a better year this year than they did last year. And
there's plenty of coaches.
I thought Trish Fabry for sure, and then maybe even Paula Miller, women's tennis, 5 straight MAC titles in a row, could be up there. But moving on, Brian, game of the year, which one are you taking?
Game of the year, I went with Quinnipiac against UConn because even though Quinnipiac lost, this was one of the best events in this school's history. It's probably making them a lot of money because it was on ESPN. It was an absolutely packed house at Gamble Pavilion in Storrs, Connecticut. And it was in Connecticut. It was facing the best team in the nation, the undefeated team, the team that all these players look up to when they're growing up in the UConn Huskies. And Quinnipiac kept it close. It was 33-18 after the first half. We were on the edge of our seats. I mean, I don't know, you can't see me there in that video. I was right there in the bottom right corner watching, and I was like, wow. This is a close game. This is a lot closer than I expected, especially
close
right
for UConn standards, obviously.
Right, close for UConn standards, but coming after the game against St. Francis, where UConn absolutely destroyed them, setting records for scoring in a half, scoring in a game in an NCAA tournament.
It's disgusting.
Right, I think that game was crazy.
It was almost insulting. But for me, it had to be men's basketball versus Canisius in the MAC tournament. They won this game, very competitive game, and obviously they hadn't been successful in the MAC tournament the past few years. They won the first round. They get to the second round against Canisius, the number 2 seed in the entire conference, and they win in an upset. And it was kind of like the we're here moment. Like, we're here, guys. This is it. Like, Quinnipiac basketball is officially on the map. And right there, like, Aaron Robinson hits that game-winning 3, and that's all it is.
Yeah, also for consideration, rugby in the national championship, acrobatics and tumbling in the national championship. But it's going to be hard to pick against women's basketball after the year they had. But let's see if anyone did. Mike, your team of the year, pick against women's basketball?
No. Women's basketball was the team of the year, and it's not even close. They won 23 straight games at one point, or to end the entire season. That's absurd. The only team they lost to was UConn, and no one really beats UConn except for Notre Dame, obviously, but Quinnipiac obviously isn't at that level yet, and they were ridiculous offensively, almost 72 points per game, only allowed about 59 points per game. another MAC title, another NCAA tournament win. Obviously didn't get as far as they did last year, but that's because they had a better seed and they're going to be playing UConn in the second round instead of like the third. So, yeah, it has to be women's basketball.
It's definitely Quinnipiac women's basketball. They got a 9 seed in the national tournament. That's never happened before. Playing UConn, playing them competitively, winning 3 NCAA tournament games in the last 2 years, undefeated in MAC play, 23 wins in a row. I mean, you can't say enough about this team and the job that Trisha Fabry's done.
Interesting picks, boys. One more breather, but when we come back, we give our final roars of the year. And for me, my final one, forever. That's next.
Bobcat Breakdown, presented by the Quinnipiac Bobcats Sports Network.
We are your source for debate.
Did they make the playoffs last year, Tom Jenkins?
When it clicks, it clicks.
We dissect Quinnipiac athletics on a scale you've never seen before.
With Tobia, it almost looks like she's reaching a little bit.
Plus, we bring in the biggest names surrounding college sports.
We are live here at the Times Union Center with Jay Billis.
And of course, some comedy.
But you can only have so much arena food.
I think you're crazy.
Bobcat Breakdown.
Tuesdays at 9:30.
Coming up on #that, we talk about some fun events around Quinnipiac's campus.
And we talk about some weird news that's been discussed around Twitter.
All that and more, we are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Tonight on Sandwich News.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown.
Now it's surprise time, Dylan. On your final appearance ever on Q30 television, we have a little something special for you, so let's check it out.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another Q30 Sports Report brought to you by Q30 Television. I'm Dylan Fearon, and
guys, what's the playoff formula for this team?
There's no playoff formula. This is one of the 4 teams that will not be in the postseason this year. Will, no matter what 5 I come up with, I'm sure Kyle and Drew are going to find something wrong with it, and I'm going to have to go on the desk and prove them wrong like I always do. I don't see why not. I can rebound the basketball, and I'll score every time. I'll score every time. Sports. For Johnny Banks and the crew, I'm Dylan Fearon. We'll see you next week. Good night.
So on behalf of everyone in Q30, past and present, thank you, Dylan, for all your hard work, dedication, mentorship, and best of all, friendship. We can't thank you enough for all you've done for us, and we want to wish you the best of luck as the next chapter of your life begins. Thank you, Dylan.
One love.
Thanks, boys. One love. Love you guys. It's been a hell of a ride, and I was glad to come back. I made the right decision, and can't wait to see what's next.
One more year?
We'll see. Probably. I don't think so. But it's time for our final roars of the year. It's been a blast, boys. Mike, get us going.
Well, since we're on the sentimental side of things, the school year is just about over, and that means that this show is done for the year. It has been an honor to work with Schwartz, Shane, Fearon, Tom, and Banks since September. From our first show out in the piazza to drawing pumpkins on Halloween, close enough to carving, right? To talking sports by the water cooler like a bunch of washed-up salesmen. To the electric roundtable discussing serious topics in sports, up to the diamond, and so much more. I am incredibly proud of the work that you have all done, and I want to thank all of you for making my job a lot easier all year long.
As President John Leahy heads off into the sunset, a new regime takes over at Quinnipiac University. It would be an understatement to say they were left in good hands. The transformation that this school has seen in the last decade is one that is incomparable. And the steps that Quinnipiac's athletics have taken this past year should not go unnoticed. The Quinnipiac women's rugby team won its 3rd straight national championship. 2, Quinnipiac men's basketball set the foundation, with Baker Dunleavy for sustained success as an up-and-coming program. 3, Trisha Fabry led the Quinnipiac women's basketball team to another NCAA tournament win and a hard-fought battle with UConn. Yes, UConn. And dominating the MAC and in plenty of other sports. Having young players step up like Odine Tufto, Rich Kelly, and Jacob Brigoni. That's just to name a few. The future for this university is so bright, and it's only just the start of becoming a national power school.
As tonight is my last appearance on Q30's airwaves, I just want to thank the many people at Quinnipiac who have made my 5 years here so wonderful and helped me build the foundation for my adult life. There are too many people who have helped me along the way. The team I collaborate with at Q30 and QBSN, past and present. Without you, my college experience isn't nearly the same. We've shared some amazing memories, trips, and games that will be with me forever. But without my former coach, Carolyn Martin, I might not even be at Quinnipiac. She believed in me when other coaches didn't, and she took a chance on me to walk on to the cross-country team. She pushed me and allowed me to be me, helping me grow along the way. Captaining that team and being a part of Q30 are two things I don't take lightly and will forever be grateful for. I don't know what's next, but I promise I won't let you down. When I get settled in my career, I'll find ways to give back to Quinnipiac. One love. Thanks for everything. That's it, boys. It's been too real. Last one for you guys. You ready for the summer?
I'm tearing up, Dylan.
Yeah,
it's your last show.
I'm trying. I'm
Bring the
blushing.
tissues out, man.
sad.
It's brutal.
Well, just because it is our last show doesn't mean you can't check out all of our coverage at Q30TV.com and over on Twitter at Q30Sports. For Schwartz, Riley, and the rest of the crew that made things so smooth this year, I'm Dylan Fearon. Good night.